Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
Join us as we explore the prize inside, looking at holistic health and extraordinary human potential.
Hi there.
Hi there.
The Prize Inside, a podcast dedicated to holistic living and unlocking your human potential.
Right. Welcome, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm having fun with that little AI video thing. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed it quite a bit. So I'll get better at it, I swear. So as we go, that was like my first rendition of it. I can make it a lot better. There's a lot to that AI and the description aspect of things when you're trying to use it for, different things like that. But welcome and thank you guys for joining me on a different night. Wednesday was New Year's Eve, and I thought that wasn't appropriate, but the first of 2026, I like it a lot, baby. I think this will be good. We're not going to talk about all those things, like though we did that on Sunday. I'm talking about a little way to create your own reality in 2026. And I want you to, go back to that one. It's if you're a regular watcher or listener, on Sunday night, we did create your own reality, gave some good activities and tips that you could do to really start, living that life that you really want to do. Right. And so I love that concept. I love, what it's done in my life and, just understanding the principles and seeing it in real life. When you're a chiropractor, you get to see miracles every day. We call them small little things. We're almost like used to it. When one time I always use this example, one of the videos, some people remember there was a big viral video of a chiropractor who was overseas somewhere. And this kid came in and he was crawling. I mean, he was barely moving. And the way the video was set up, it looked like this kid was dejected. It was bad. And he kind of just was slowly walking through the office. Once he got back, got a treatment, I think. He got a little bit of treatment there. Chiropractic wise, got an adjustment. You can see that's what was going on. They explained it. And then he was smiling, right? But then it hit like hundreds of millions of views. And that was before now the crazy stuff that you see online. People ripping people's heads off and like all these crazy. Now there's AI videos, a chiropractor smashing people. I get to see that stuff all the time. That's not actually how it goes. Never has. Never will. I don't know. Some people are like, well, why not? I'm like, because some of that's sadistic and, does nature want you to use a chisel? I'm just curious. I try to do things in chiropractic. We try to do things that the innate intelligence is asking you to do. Right. And so a lot of times we get caught up in the idea of no pain, no gain, or, those kind of things. But that's, the nature is telling you the opposite a lot of times. I have to have this lecture a lot. I'm working with a lady currently, can't get out of her own way. She get, like all I got to do is have her rest a little bit, but she can't do it. She was trained to exercise things to somehow make it heal better. When you lay on your back and take it easy for a day, that might be a better move anyway. So anyway, let's get started. Tonight's Whole Health Weekly, we try to look at different news articles that are out there that may be holistic in nature, but we want to put it through the test of innate intelligence, right? Let's see what innate intelligence says. The body heals itself. It doesn't need any outside influences. It only needs to be the best it can from the inside out, right? And so when we look at these articles, are they helpful? Are they hindering, right? And so that's what we kind of go through tonight. Our first thing, and we look at all the trends, right? So our first thing, though, I always like to start with a quote from Chiropractic on Wednesday or this night. So I love this one. Oh, where'd it go? Okay, I like this one. This is from a guy named Don Davis. He's a chiropractor in Hayward, Florida, or California. The spine as a whole operates as a functional unit. Each vertebrae can affect its neighbor, and one portion of the spine may affect or damage other areas of the body. Makes sense, right? So the whole thing is a functional unit. So if one of the parts of the car isn't working correctly, then you're going to have problems with the car, right? And so that's where chiropractic is so interesting. The amount of times that it's happened, I cannot count, where somebody comes in with a headache and it ends up being their main problem is their hips are not in the correct alignment, or their pelvis, or, those kind of things, the L5 vertebrae or this vertebrae or that vertebrae. I never put a name because I don't know, right? Until you actually evaluate. And that's what's so fascinating about the uniqueness of the human body is everyone's so different. And if somebody said, hey, I went, this one guy moved my head this way and it got rid of my headaches, that's great. But that doesn't mean that's the whole cause of everything, right? So that's the kind of the cool part of chiropractic in a nutshell that I absolutely love. And so let's get started tonight. Did anybody see Indiana whoop on Alabama? Isn't that crazy? This is a one night. I don't watch. This is weird, but I don't watch a ton of football. But sometimes on the New Year stuff, it's always fun, right? So to see Indiana, little Indiana University, just have one of the great teams this year is phenomenal. They just beat Alabama by like 30 points or something. So with that said, let's go into the trends of the week. What is our top trending health in the social media and mainstream media? All right. Let us go through. Okay. So let's go into. All right. Let's go into this. So what we want to look at is this year's what I call biohacking. So biohacking is where everybody goes, where they're saying, oh, if we do this just right, we improve our, youth, right? And there is some that are absolutely the coolest thing ever. But in the year in review, we're going to look at the strategies that we're kind of focused on in 2025. And then go from there. Okay. So biohacking is optimizing biology, right? Which means taking care of yourself, which is hilarious, or self-care. That's another one. You can biohack every day if you improve each and every aspect of your life every day, right? If you follow that 1% principle in everything you do, you're going to biohack as well. So it's just a cool name. And so everybody gets all, it's cool how they do that. They grab you with the advertisement. It's like they lure you with the right thing to say. And biohacking is that right thing to say. Does that make sense? Sometimes it's for good. Sometimes it's not. Right now, there's a big one that we're going to talk about a little bit that potentially could be not a good thing, in the biohacking space. But does it mean that all the biohacks are bad? No, it's just biohacks is the advertising. I'm trying to think of a good example of that in our old world, just old infomercial world, like just the way the infomercial was there. They would always say the same thing over and over again. It's an advertising methodology that gets your brain to trigger in the subconscious a way to buy my thing. Okay. And so biohacking is kind of that this year. By the way, I'm doing milk thistle tea. I thought I'd try it. I had it in there and I was like, oh man, I'll try this. Milk thistle's good for what? Hopefully you're saying liver gallbladder situations. Milk thistle is one of the favorites. So if you got somebody that has liver issues or, those things, I don't have liver issues. I just wanted to try it to see. It's always good to have some good liver stuff, right? So, okay. So here's some key strategies that were talked about this year. So personalized nutrition, biomarker testing, and biomarker testing. Using AI wearables or apps to track biomarkers like hormones and IGF-1, then tailors diets with protein-rich meals, hydration, and supplements. Strength training boosts growth faster for anti-aging, aims, that is really not really well read. Okay, so let's talk about that. The first thing that I noticed in 2025 for sure was the AI wearable situation. Two things are going to be of issue, and some may be good. Okay, so now we are going to have access to tons of testing. Okay, so testing that it costs thousands of dollars to buy the equipment. We're going to actually have, technology that's wearable that could potentially do that for us, right? Now, that's going to be an efficient way to really see different things. The problem is it allows a computer system to control the data. Okay, so the data is the most important portion. And one reason I'm really, really pushing always doing this podcast is to make sure that my people that are out there know what the heck's happening, without panicking, because now it'll be actually easier to number one, sell to you, because if whatever your biohack is or your bio monitor, let's say you got a heart, you got your blood pressure. So let's say on your watch, you can see your blood pressure, your heart rate, your bone density. I'm just making things up, but bone density, let's say your fat result, like how much you weigh. So let's say this new watch has all of those things. So you go to check said watch that has all these checks. Now the testing itself is probably very accurate. It's not very bad testing. The problem is when you get in there and then they start showing, they don't tell you. So unless you've done these things, right, to understand what a good blood pressure is. Does anybody know what a good blood pressure is that's watching tonight? 120 over 80 is a good one. What if you're lifting the back end of a car? Is 120 over 80 a good number? Nope, because it increases blood pressure there, right? What if you're sleeping? Maybe it's a little less, right? So there's times where that blood pressure is going to vary, right? But if you don't understand the way the physiology is working, could freak you out a little bit if something is telling you. Let's say this AI is trained. The new AI, the biggest thing is going to be how people actually control it. Does that make sense? If somebody's controlling it from you, you're going to get what you get. So good example. I'll give you a good example to watch and it'll make sense as I say it. When Google came out, it was a free search engine. Prior to that, they wanted you to pay a few bucks a month and you had your own, I think it was like, Hotmail and Yahoo and all those. You had monthly subscriptions to do the search engine stuff, right? Well, Google decided to give you the free stuff. And what do we know about free stuff in giant corporations? Free stuff in giant corporations means you're the product. You're the consumable. Okay. So because that is the way it goes, all of a sudden Google was giving you this amazing thing. And it was like one of the biggest in the world because they were able to give it away for free. Once they got it away for free, all of a sudden, magically, you had this thing magically show up called AdWords. So you not only could you advertise with Google and the people that were using their search engine, maybe off to the side, if you remember. Now, instead of being what they call like an organic, let's say the Prize Inside, so many people liked it, that it did really good. Every time somebody watches it, they watch it to the end, and, those kind of things. And, I get compliments at the office, those kind of things, which it does, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, that doesn't help me get up in the rankings of healthy, holistic podcasts. Okay. You got to learn how the world works. I try to not pay for a lot of this stuff so that I can see how my real reach goes, because it makes me physically, do the work within my office and everywhere else. Right. And what happens is like the people that are on the top of that Google search are ones that paid Google to get there. Okay. Same with Amazon. They all work that way, right? Amazon's another sneaky one where they had you do all their stuff. And then let's say me and you had a product that we go put it online. And before, if it organically was successful, it would move up the search engine and all that stuff. Well, then over time, once you get enough business captured, you change the model slightly. You change the model to, okay, if you want to be on that first page, because it means a lot of people are looking at that first page, that means you're going to pay me this amount of money. And so at one time I looked up, it was like, so here's a good example. So in chiropractic, if you said, all right, I want my chiropractic website up and I want to put back pain, back pain is the search term that I want to advertise with. Well, then you looked at those numbers and it was like thousands of dollars to have back pain as one of the search things. So if somebody said back pain near Jeremy, like near my town, then it would have popped up that kind of, popped me up, let's say naturally, right? And it does still, but lower, right? And then some in the same area will pay and then have those search things above looking as if they're a better solution for that back pain. Okay. So is it wrong? No. It was a free service and it was really good. It was you got a great search engine for, what it is. The problem. So we come back to wearables. Okay. The problem is when you want to essentially drive someone's thought process. Okay. So here's the bad situation about the back pain one I gave you. So who is interested in back pain, but has a lot more money than holistic, like chiropractor people and acupuncturists, massage therapists? Who would that be? That would be your medical side. Your medical side has a lot more money to spend at that. Now, even though the data says this, is a medical place or a surgeon the place you want to start if you have like dull low back pain? No, right? So it doesn't make sense to have those at the top. But because it's a business, right? All you got to do is pay and you get to go to the top, right? And so think about that in terms of wearables on your arm. Whatever you're wearing, whatever you want to keep track of, sleep. Okay, I see that one a lot. Sleep, blood pressure, heart rate, all these different ones. I want you to make sure that you understand what those things are and mean if you're going to wear the wearable. Okay. Because that's going to be the kicker. They're going to be more and more out there. You're not going to stop the process. And do I say, oh, I'm anti wearables? No. When I do a certain run, Rachel has an iWatch thing. And so I'll grab that thing and put it on when I do this run because I want to know my distance. And that's really cool. So like I can go, let's say I want to go a half mile, but I don't want to go in my car, drive a half mile, come back and go, okay, that tree there on the road is a half mile away. Right. So I'll just wear this watch and it'll tell me when to turn around and everything. Right. Now, I'm sure the AI people aren't very happy that I'm wearing my wife's watch because it probably screws up their data that they're collecting on all of us. But at the same time, that's how you want to use it. Use it to your favor, not theirs. Okay. Use that kind of wearable situation to your favor, not theirs. There's another one that I want you to watch. Some people are wearing that iPhone, all those different wearable technologies all the time. And if you've ever watched us at a longer period of time, then you would know that a lot of those wearables, cell phones, all of those things affect your biofield, affect your energetic biofield. Okay. Just like watching a computer screen, if you're wearing this technology, it's reading and throwing essentially micro radiations, right? Electromagnetic frequency, EMF, at you while it's doing its reading. So it's ideal to not wear it all the time. That's the biggest thing, is understanding when wearables would be a good idea. Maybe when you're exercising or, those kind of things. Even I don't try to recommend it in exercise because I don't want my biofield messed up while I'm working out, especially if it's a higher end workout. So just remember that as far as wearables go. Big topic all year because of the AI situation. They want essentially these AI to take over physical doctoring, which you have to really deeply think about that. They really want to do a lot of things where they're like, oh, your AI will be your doctor. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth, except for you're going to get higher end detail, right? And so if you do it correctly, I think it could be a really, really good thing in the world we are, as long as the experts utilize that AI in a certain way. Okay. So we'll be watching that in 2026 as we go forward, and just see how it goes. Right. So hard to get on that one. So here's another trend that was this year: cold and heat exposure. All right. We talked about this ourselves in here. Ice baths or saunas reduce inflammation, enhance metabolism, and build resilience. Start with short sessions between 2 to 5 minutes daily. Benefits like improved recovery show up, and the studies are showing within 2 to 3 weeks. So for an improved recovery and workouts, especially as we age or if we have athletes, hot and cold therapy has been proven. There's a couple good guys there's one guy that really made the cold take off, is called Wim Hof, WIMHOF. So he was a good one. Lots of cold therapy. Cold therapy's been in the room way before Wim Hof. However, he just made it where it was a lot of cold therapy, like walking outside, staying out there for a few hours, those kind of things. He's not wrong. The physiology of being able to adapt to your environment, especially in Michigan, let's say, we bundle up so much and we try to stay in one temperature. If you think about this thing, and we'll probably do another talk on it, what homeostasis is. Homeostasis is the wave pattern that allows us to stay balanced, whether we're at one end of the continuum or the other, right? And so what happens in the human body, the reason it becomes less resilient as we age, is that our little waveform, like hot temperatures, cold temperatures, goes way down because we start to stay in, let's say, 70-degree temperature. 70 degrees in the winter time, I don't go outside, and then 70 degrees in the summertime, right? And so by not challenging your body on either side of that, your physiology starts getting lazy because your body is inherently trying to, it's doing the best it can with the energy it's got. Okay. And so, but if we don't challenge that body, get out in those elements, we're going to have issues. And the hot and cold, is a really good thing. There's one that's better, and that is getting out in nature every single day in the wintertime and the summertime. I know the wintertime's hard and I know it's ugly out there, but it's worth spending a few minutes, 20 minutes. 20 minutes in cold therapy is the same, as, walking with the no coat on outside for 10, you know what I mean? Battling those elements like that can be really, really beneficial. So remember that as we go, but hot and cold therapy, you'll see that. I don't know. It'll be interesting what pops up for 2026 because there was a lot of good stuff. All right. Oops, wrong one. Oh, yeah. Okay. So nootropics and brain stacks. So these are multi-target stacks, combine supplements like curcumin, bromelain, and nattokinase to detox spike proteins, support cognition, and reduce clots. Emerging research shows that dramatic reductions in inflammation and then you pair that meditation with mood lifts. So nootropics. So that's interesting. Nootropics is mushrooms. So like mushrooms and brain stacks. Okay. So that's interesting. There's a lot of talk on different medicinal values of the mushrooms that are out there. I'm doing more studying on the mushrooms as well because of there's a lot of good medicinal values. Reishi mushroom, lion's mane mushroom. I almost made our next Sunday talk on lion's mane, which we probably will start getting into some of the mushrooms. But I got another one that's really good that will help. But I did elderberry for this Sunday. You guys will like it. But yeah, mushrooms are very interesting. I'm not sold on the psychedelic stuff like a lot of these holistic practitioners. It's very interesting I guess if you become an influencer and a voice you hear, they want to find something that has a huge effect when somebody takes it. So now there's this like microdosing of the psychedelic medicines or the psychedelic mushrooms is a big thing. It could be. I don't know. I've never done it. I would warn against it probably without understanding what you're doing. Usually when nature says something's poisonous, that's usually a sign to stay away from it. Just saying. To stand and get bit by a cobra, let's say, is not exactly the thing that makes sense in nature if you took all that away. So I would say be really cautious, but looking at all the mushrooms are ridiculously good, especially if, they have some major good phytochemicals inside them, we haven't even researched like what they're really, really good for. Like lion's mane, they've already said it's a really good anti-anxiety plus anti-inflammation, great for the immune system, a lot of things, right? And so sometimes you get a major good effect like right away. So just remember that as we go. And I think, and the last one, all right, let's talk about, before we get on to Dr. Mercola's stuff, peptides. Okay. So peptides are the new trendy word for it's a new trendy word for an alternative to those GLP-1 situations. Okay. So yes, peptides can potentially be better for you slightly. I'm not in a total agreement of this. And the reason is the peptide situation is basically something your body wouldn't produce. Okay. So these peptides actually get in and they act just like the drug would. Okay. And this is just an opinion of mine, right? So let's say the GLP-1. The GLP-1 idea is that you take this peptide. This peptide is supposedly a natural alternative to Ozempic and all those things. I don't see much difference, to be honest with you, in these two ways, except for wording. And that's what we have to watch in healthcare really, really hard, is because people fight like crazy to get the right wording to make you think, oh man, it's organic and it's not, it's actually good for me, and not the other way around. Because if they can get that convinced that it's good for you and not the 7 side effects that you're probably going to have, then they got a winning product. So one of the things to understand is with GLP-1, this is just an opinion, but this is how it works. GLP-1 mimics this hormone that tells your body you're full. Okay. So step back a minute and go, okay, my body thinks it's full, but it's not. There's no food in there, but your body thinks there's food in there. Okay. So what happens when your body thinks it's full? Guess what starts going? Your digestive enzymes start activating to try to break down something that's not there. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. All right. How about your pancreas turning on the insulin that they think you need because you might have ate something that requires insulin? Oh yeah, there's no food there. How about gallbladder? The gallbladder needs and the bile needs to come out of the gallbladder and the liver area to make sure all the fats and all this stuff that you're doing get broke down. So I'm going to release some bile into that same empty stomach. Remember, I said it's empty. The rest of your body, your kidneys are getting ready to absorb all these different things like calcium and sodium and all these things. It's ready to do that. Oh, wait, you don't have anything in your stomach. So all of these things are active, like something's happening. And then we wonder why there's major side effects to this. I'm just saying, I'm not going to accuse anything of it. When I hear the word peptides, I hear maybe have somebody else not in our 1% tribe try it and see how it goes. I don't know, because one of those things, we're trying to figure things out in the natural way. And by replacing natural processes, right? Like we talk about melatonin. Melatonin is a natural hormone. When little kids, and I experienced this myself with my daughter, she needed to be able to sleep. So we gave her a little bit of melatonin. She reacted where she needed this melatonin all the time. So we weaned her off of it. Back in the day when I learned about this, that your body creates melatonin. And so you need to create that to make that thing happen, right? And now as your body processes start to reduce, like as an adult, there are times, like especially with melatonin, let's say you're over your menopausal stage as a woman, then melatonin is fine, right? Or once in a while, right? So if you use them as a kickstart and not a crutch, then you're sitting pretty good, okay? Great example is pregnancy, right? All these kids on birth control, and then they wonder why their back hurts all the time, or their body is aching and it's feeling weird after we put them on birth control. I wonder why. Oh, I can tell you why. So their body is faking they're pregnant every day. Okay. So their hormonal system and the rest of their body thinks that there is a baby being born in this child that may or may not even had sex or anything. See the problem with that? When you take something, a natural process, and basically trick it, that's not really being natural. Okay. So just remember that there's times where you need all these things, right? And ways to do that. But once you trick the body has to find different ways to do different things. Okay. Digestive enzymes. I could give you a list of things that are considered holistic as well. And they're not. They're okay, but they're not great. Okay. Man, I miss doing these. I'm glad I'm back rolling with you guys on them. I was worried about this one. And then I'm like, wait, we could just do it on Thursday. So I appreciate that. All right. So we'll go through some other cool ones as the year goes, because that's what Whole Health Weekly is about. But because I've taken up so much time on my soapbox, I'm going to get into the good stuff that you guys like, that I like too, is the new stuff from Dr. Mercola's Censored Library. So if you go to drmercola.com, get on his website. He has loaded information. Love a lot of his really cool articles on different things. Okay. And one of them that we're going to talk about right away is something that I just discussed with a patient and like what was happening there. Okay. All right. So let's go into that. The FDA takes action to restrict fluoride supplements for children. Okay, since the 1940s, so let's give you a little background. Since the 1940s, one substance has been added to the water supply for nearly 3/4 of Americans without their consent. The FDA announced a new federal restriction on ingestible fluoride drugs for children. This marks a major policy shift that limits their use, introduces enforcement actions, and directs clinicians towards safer risk-based prevention. The agency has sent formal notices to 4 companies stating its intention to take enforcement action against unapproved fluoride containing ingestible drugs marketed for young children and those at low or moderate cavity risk. The FDA's scientific review found limited dental benefits from ingestible fluoride, no measurable advantage for primary teeth, and documented risks, including fluorosis and microbiome disruption. Modern research also linked fluoride exposure to a number of health concerns, including reduced IQ in children, altered thyroid hormones, skeletal changes, and progressive muscle loss. We'll end this article real quick. This was also, the article was by Dr. Mercola. So you can lower your family's fluoride exposure by filtering drinking and bathing water, choosing fluoride-free oral care, and reviewing prescriptions carefully and staying engaged in local water policy decisions. Okay. So fluoride at one time used to be known as something that would help prevent cavities, and it was good for dental things. What they found over years is the dental benefits do not outweigh the essentially bad health things that were happening. If you remember, I'm a huge gut microbiome guy. In fact, we have or if you ever want to, I have a gut protocol that we do at the office. We do a coaching aspect to it, but your gut bacteria doesn't stop at your gut. It actually is in your oral cavity as well, your mouth, right? So we have gut bacteria essentially. So we have what they call salivary oral bacteria. You have to have a good, mouth health as well. Well, fluoride was ineffective doing that. Okay. Biggest thing in fluoride was there was a very big connection to too much fluoride led to thyroid problems. And that's why a lot of kids were getting thyroid issues as a very young age. But this fight seemed obnoxiously fought against, which is kind of weird, but that's how the world goes. I don't know if there's a fluoride mafia or whatever that would keep the fluoride within, and when you do that, you allow a lot of conspiracies to come in, right? So it takes you 50 years to, stop denying crap that's actually there. That's kind of stupid. And it doesn't get you anywhere. So it can't be that big a pain in the butt to reduce people's fluoride and just make sure they know. You know what I mean? Fluoride is not the greatest thing for dental cavities. The 1940s said it was pretty good. So it's okay to have some, but putting it in our water supply to stop cavities, and we still got them. I'd actually bet what would be funny is like the study that shows with all the fake sugar stuff that we eat now. Is there a trade-off? I don't know.